Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be creating a simple budget planner using Excel. Of course, budgeting is an essential part of financial management, and in the course of this video, we're going to be learning how to create a budget planner with only Excel. First of all, we need to start by identifying the things that we need for this budget planner. We need income, we need expenses, and from the income and expenses, we can determine the savings. So I'm going to start by labeling this as income. Then we're going to have expenses. So here we're going to call it expenses. Let me start by formatting this nicely to look better. So for this, I'm going to give it a fill color, maybe something greenish. I can go for this color. And then for the font color, I'm going to choose white. Let me increase the size to 16 and then make it bold. I'm also going to do the same thing for the expenses. So here I'm going to choose a red color for the expenses, and for the font color I'm going to choose white. And I'm also going to bolden the font and increase the font size to 16. So now we have our income and expenses. Next, I'm going to be providing our income sources. But first, I need to provide a label for details of the income. So here, I'm going to label it as description. Then we'll have the category. And here we have amount. So let me select the cells and make them bold. Then for the income, we have salary. And category, we can call it income. Then for the amount, maybe we can go with 30,000. Then next, maybe other income sources like freelancing. So I'm going to call this one freelancing. And we give it a category of income. Next, we provide the amount. And for the amount, we can go for something like 12,000. And now I need to find the total income. So I'm going to select these two cells, go to the formula ribbon and select auto sum. Also, for this income planner, we need to give it a proper title. So we can also include the month. For this, I'm going to put something like March 2025. So this planner is for March 2025. So which means that if you want to have your planner for the next month, April 2025, you can simply copy this workbook and change the title. So for this total, I'm going to select these two cells and merge them together. And I'm going to write total there. And I'm going to align this to the left. So I'll select the cell and click left alignment. And I can also make it bold. So let me select the amount and the total and make it bold. I'm also going to do the same thing for the expenses. So I'm going to select these headings, copy it and paste it under the expenses. Now I'm going to be listing out the expenses. So I'm going to be starting with rent. For the rent, I can put the category as housing. And for the amount, we can go for 15,000. Also, we're going to have groceries. So let's have groceries here. And the category will be food. And the amount we can use 4,500. Next, we're going to provide maybe something like electricity. So have electricity here. Electricity falls under utility. So can give it a category of utility. And for the amount, we can go for, let's say 2,000. We have internet, still under utility. So we'll call it utility. And the price, we can give it maybe 1,000. Next, we can have something like club membership. So we have club membership. So I can call this entertainment. And for the amount, we can go for 500. So here we have 500. Then finally, we're going to have movie. And for the movie, still under entertainment. So we're going to call it entertainment. And for the amount, we can use 300 for movie. Next, I'm going to compute the total. So I'm going to be selecting these cells, and I'll go over to formulas and select auto sum. So I'm going to select these two cells, merge them together and write total. So here we have total, and I'm going to align it to the left. I'll select it and align it to the left and make them bold. So I'll select the two of them and make them bold. Next, it is proper I format this amount as numbers. So I'll select this, then add 1,000 separator to it. I'll also do the same for the expenses. Select this to add 1,000 separator to the amount. So having determined the income, the total income, expenses, we got the total expenses. Next thing we're going to do is to determine the savings we're making at the end of the month. So I'm going to simply select this and copy this particular cell and paste it here. And here I'm going to call it savings. So this is going to be savings. And I also want the next column to have a fill color. So I'm going to select this and select a fill color and then give it a font color of white. Then I will change the color to something else. Maybe I can go for maybe black. Black is also good for my savings. So having done this, the next thing we're going to do is to determine the savings. The savings is going to be income minus expenses. So here I'm going to select this cell and go over to my formula bar, put equality, then select income and provide a minus sign and then select expenses. So this is going to give me the total savings at the end of the month. So here I'm going to select this, make it bold and change the font size to 16. So let me quickly expand this column so I can be able to see the figures very well. So this is our figure right now. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be creating some visuals to enable me track how the income expenses are like when you bring them side by side. Having done all this, it is important for us to have a chart that shows us how our income, expenses, and savings are like when you place them side by side. So for this, I'm going to be creating a new table. So for this table, we're going to have a description here. And the next, we're going to have total amount. So I'm going to bold the headings and increase the font size. Maybe we can go for 14. We can also give it a fill color of black and then give it a font color of white. So this looks good. Now we're going to write income. We're going to have our expenses. And finally, we're going to have our savings. Now I'm going to be entering the figures for the total income, total expenses, and the savings. So here I'm going to click on this cell, put my equality sign, and then refer to this particular cell, which contains the total income. Then for the expenses, I'm going to put a equality sign here and then point to the total expenses. Then we'll do the same for the savings. So I'm going to put a equality sign here and then point at the total savings. So I'm going to select the data and then head over to the insert ribbon. Here I'm going to go for the recommended chart and then click OK to create a chart. And for the chart title, I'll simply select it and rename it to something like expenses. Then we'll have income. Then we'll have savings. Let me put a space here. So this becomes the title for our chart, and I'll simply drag the charts below the table. The next thing I'm going to do is to represent the expenses visually. I want to see how much money we're spending on housing, on food, utility, and entertainment. So for this, I'm going to be copying these values here. I'm going to copy it and paste it somewhere here. So here I have Ctrl V. Let me reduce this chart a little bit. Then next, I'm going to remove duplicates from this. So I will simply select the data, then head over to the data ribbon and click on remove duplicates. Click OK. So now we have housing, food, utility, and entertainment. I will now go ahead and provide the headings for this new table that I'm creating. So here we can call it category. Then next we'll have amount. So let's format the headings. I'll select this, go to my home ribbon, click bold. I can go for 14 font, use black fill color, and then use white font color. I can also expand this a little bit to accommodate the figures. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be using the SUMIFS function to determine the total amount of money spent on each of those categories. So I'm going to click on the formula bar, provide a quality sign. Here I'm going to write SUMIF. Then I'm going to select the range. For the range, I'm going to be selecting these cells. Then I'll have a comma. Then I'll select a category, which is this. Then have a comma, and then I'll select my sum range, which are these cells. Then close up the bracket. So this is going to give me total amount of money spent on housing. Now I'm going to copy the formula across the other cells. So I'll simply click here and drag it down. And now I'm going to format this to be in form of numbers. So I'll simply select it and then add 1,000 separator there. And I'm also going to have a total. So let's call this total. And I'm going to sum up these values to give us the total amount. I'm going to click on the formulas and click on auto sum. And then I will now select these cells and make them bold and do Ctrl B. So having done this, the next thing I'm going to do is to create a visual for this information. So I'm going to simply select this data, then head over to the insert. And for this, I'm going to be using a pie chart. So I'll simply click on this and click here. So this is going to insert a pie chart inside of my worksheet. So I'll simply drag this. I can also resize it a bit. So now we have our visuals. Let me also drag this one down. So this becomes our visual. Now we can visually track our income and expenses and even our savings. Having done this, let's see how to play around with this data. Imagine that my salary increased to maybe something like 40,000. Let's change this figure to 40,000. You can see how the tables and the charts are updated. And let's look at this one. You can decide to add a data label to this to see the percentages. So I'm going to simply right click here and click on add data labels. So I'm going to click here, add data labels. So we see the figures right here. But assuming I want it to be in form of percentage, I can change it to format data labels. Here I'm going to be using percentage. So I'll simply click on percentage and then uncheck the value. So we can now see the data in percentages. Then another thing you'll notice is that my savings increased because my expenses are steady. But what if I reduce my expenses? Maybe for this March, I made zero money from freelancing. Let's see how it turns out. So I'm going to change this to 0. You can see how the charts and the tables are adjusted based on the values provided. So let me revert this back to 1,000. Let's say it is 1,000. The savings becomes 17,700. Imagine that the rent becomes 25,000. So let's change it to 25,000. And groceries, we're spending 10,000. So have 10,000. The savings become 2,200. So let's say our salary reduced by 10,000. So we have 30,000 here. You can see that we have a negative value. And it is showing in this form because it is in accounting data type. So if I want to see the negative there, I'll simply go over here and change it to number. So now it is now in negative form. So let's revert this back. We can change it to 15,000, and we can bring this one down to, let's say, 7,000, and this becomes our saving. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to use conditional formatting to format our savings based on given values. Imagine that your ideal savings for a month is 5,000 naira. We can decide to make this figure changed to a different color when the figure is not met. For instance, I'll simply click here and go over to conditional formatting and select less than. So if our saving becomes less than 5,000, we want it to be formatted differently. So we're going to put 5,000 here and we can click OK. And nothing happens. So let's say we increase this by 1,000. So we have 1,000 now. You can see that the savings is now showing red, which means that it is not up to the 5,000, which is our ideal savings. Then the next thing we're going to do is that we may want to know when we'll make very large amount of savings in a given month. So here I'm going to also click on the conditional formatting and click on greater than. So here we're going to have 10,000. And for this, we can change it to greenish color and then click OK. So what this means is that if our savings is up to 10,000 naira, it's going to change to a different color. Let's increase the salary by 35,000. Not yet up to the figure. And let's reduce our expenses here. So here I have 1,500. This should be 1,500. So have 1,500. So this is going to give me 10,200. So it is now green in color. I'm going to quickly click on this and click on a 1,000 separator. So this becomes our budget planner. So you can see it is quite easy to create a budget planner in Excel. So I encourage you to go ahead and try it out. And it's something that you can even use for yourself. If you like this video, do not hesitate to like the video. And if you've not yet subscribed, please endeavor to do so. Thank you for watching.